It happened in broad daylight. No shadows. No special effects. No second takes. Jason Statham stood at the center of the film set. Cameras paused. Crew members froze. The sun hung high above Los Angeles. Everyone felt the shift. Jason smiled. Not friendly. Not respectful. A smile filled with challenge. He looked straight at Steven Seagal, standing calm, hands relaxed, face unreadable. Jason spoke clearly. "Let us see if the legend is real." The words hit harder than a punch. Conversations stopped. Phones slowly lifted. Even seasoned stuntmen held their breath. Steven did not react. No anger. No reply. Not even a change in posture. That silence created tension louder than noise. Hollywood insiders knew this was not scripted. This was not publicity. This was ego meeting history. Jason was known for speed, power, athletic dominance. A modern action icon. Steven was something different. A man shaped by decades. Discipline. Real combat. Real control. Sunlight reflected off the pavement. Sweat rolled down faces. The air felt heavy. A producer whispered, "This should not be happening." Another crew member stepped back. Instinctively, as if danger had entered the space. Steven slowly raised his eyes. Not aggressive. Not defensive. Simply present. That single movement changed everything. Jason took a half step forward. Confidence still visible. But uncertainty had entered his eyes. Hollywood had seen fights before. They had seen choreographed action. They had seen fake dominance. This was different. This moment carried truth. No music played. No director shouted cut. No stunt coordinator intervened. Time itself seemed to pause. Steven's calm was unsettling. Not weakness. Not hesitation. Pure control. The legend did not announce himself. He did not threaten. He did not boast. He simply stood there, unmoved, unshaken. And in that moment, everyone watching understood. This was not about fame. This was not about cameras. This was about reality. What followed would not be forgotten. Not by the crew. Not by Hollywood. Not by those who witnessed it firsthand. Because when true experience meets loud confidence, only one walks away unchanged. And the next few seconds would redefine respect forever. It was a bright daytime film set in Los Angeles. The sun was high. The sky was clear. Light reflected off metal rigs and camera lenses. Cameras were already rolling. Boom mics hovered above. Crew members moved with purpose. Assistants carried equipment. Directors checked monitors. Security stood alert. This was a working set. Not a red carpet. Not a staged event. Jason Statham stood near the center. Relaxed. Confident. Surrounded by producers and fans. People greeted him with smiles. Some asked for photos. Others whispered his name. He was comfortable. He was loud. He was dominant. Jason laughed easily. His body language filled space. Hands moving. Voice projecting. Energy demanding attention. Then the atmosphere shifted. Steven Seagal arrived without announcement. No entourage. No noise. No rush. He wore dark glasses. An old jacket. Simple clothes. Nothing flashy. He walked slowly. Every step steady. Every movement controlled. Some crew members did not notice at first. Others glanced twice. Then stared. Steven stopped near the edge of the set. Hands relaxed. Shoulders loose. Breathing calm. He observed. Not judging. Not reacting. Jason noticed him moments later. The laughter faded slightly. Curiosity replaced confidence. He looked Steven up and down. Old jacket. Calm posture. No reaction. Jason smirked. He stepped forward. Not aggressively, but intentionally. His voice carried. Loud enough for nearby crew. Clear enough for cameras. "You are past your prime." The words echoed in daylight. A few people laughed nervously. Others shifted uncomfortably. Some pretended not to hear. Steven did not respond. He did not remove his glasses. He did not change his stance. He did not speak. That silence unsettled the space. Jason chuckled again, trying to regain momentum. He expected reaction. Anger. Defense. Nothing came. Steven simply stood still. Calm. Grounded. Present. A veteran stuntman lowered his headset. A camera operator slowly adjusted focus. Phones quietly came out. The crew sensed something real. This was not dialogue. This was not rehearsal. Jason moved closer. Still smiling. Still confident. Steven remained unmoved. His calm was not passive. It was deliberate. Years of discipline sat in his posture. Years of control in his stillness. The sun reflected off his glasses, hiding his eyes, making his silence heavier. A producer whispered to another, "This is uncomfortable." A director paused the shoot. Without saying a word. No one wanted to interrupt. Jason stopped talking, waiting. Steven offered nothing. That was the moment. The power dynamic shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Daylight exposed everything. No shadows to hide in. No edits to save face. Just two men. Two energies. Two histories. One built on noise. One built on silence. The set no longer felt like a movie location. It felt like a test. Not of strength, but of presence. Steven finally turned his head slightly. Not to challenge, but to acknowledge. That small movement spoke louder than words. Jason noticed. His smile tightened. The crew felt it. Everyone watching understood. This was only the beginning. Backhand index pointing down, comment below where you are watching from. And support calm strength over loud ego. The challenge did not stay between two men. It spread across the entire set. Whispers moved faster than cameras. Crew members leaned closer. Assistants paused mid-step. Security shifted position. Phones slowly came out. Not openly. Not boldly. Quietly. Everyone sensed something was happening. Jason noticed the attention. It fueled him. He straightened his posture. Rolled his shoulders. Stepped forward. Each step was deliberate. Measured. Meant to dominate. His presence grew louder. Not in sound, but in intention. Steven did not move. He stood exactly where he was. Feet grounded. Hands relaxed. Shoulders loose. His eyes remained focused. Not aggressive. Not dismissive. Simply aware. His breathing was steady. Slow. Controlled. That contrast intensified everything. Jason stopped less than an arm's length away. Close enough to feel breath. Close enough to test limits. Some crew members looked away. Others stared without blinking. The air felt heavy. Thick. Charged. Jason tilted his head. Trying to read Steven. Trying to provoke something. Nothing came. Steven's stillness was not hesitation. It was discipline. Years of training lived in that silence. Years of control behind calm eyes. A few people whispered. "That is dangerous," another muttered. "He should not push him." Jason smirked again. But the confidence now had edges. He shifted his weight. Flexed his hands. Trying to assert dominance. Steven adjusted nothing that unnerved people more than aggression ever could. A stunt coordinator stepped in. Voice firm. Professional. "Gentlemen, this stops now." His words cut through the tension. But not the moment. Jason glanced at him briefly. Then back to Steven. Steven acknowledged the warning. With a subtle nod. But he did not step away. The coordinator hesitated. He could feel it too. This was no longer something that could be easily stopped. The challenge had already crossed a line. Not physical. Psychological. Jason took one more half step. Testing space. Testing reaction. Steven's eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger. In focus. That tiny change shifted the entire balance. Several crew members instinctively stepped back. A camera operator lowered his rig, hands shaking slightly. The set was silent, except for breathing. Daylight exposed everything. Sweat, posture, energy. Jason's movements grew sharper, quicker. Steven's remained minimal. Stillness against motion. The tension became unbearable, like a stretched wire, ready to snap. Someone whispered, "Cut." No one listened. Jason raised his chin, trying one last time to assert control. Steven remained motionless. But now, everyone could feel it. This was no longer about intimidation. This was about restraint. Steven was choosing not to act. That choice carried weight, experience, authority. The stunt coordinator stepped back, understanding he no longer controlled the moment. Hollywood was watching, not through screens, but through human instinct. This was real, unfiltered, unplanned. Two paths stood in front of them, one driven by ego, one guided by discipline. And everyone knew, whatever happened next would not be staged, would not be forgotten. The moment had already begun. Jason moved first. It happened in daylight, clear, unhidden, unmistakable. His motion was fast, sharp, confident. A step forward, a sudden reach, a burst of aggression meant to overwhelm. Gasps escaped the crowd. Someone shouted. Another dropped a phone. The sound of movement cut the air. Steven did not rush. He did not strike. He did not react with force. He reacted with timing. In one smooth motion, Steven shifted his weight, turned his shoulder, guided the momentum. No punch, no kick, no wasted energy, just control. Jason felt it instantly. His balance vanished. His speed betrayed him. What began as dominance became direction. Steven redirected the force, using Jason's own movement, using his own confidence. The motion was silent, efficient, almost invisible. One moment Jason was advancing. The next he was falling. His body met the mat hard. The sound echoed. A dull final thud. The entire set froze. No cheering. No shouting. No applause. Only silence. Cameras hung motionless. Boom mics hovered forgotten. Crew members stood frozen. No one expected that. Jason lay still for a breath. Eyes wide. Chest rising. Shock replaced confidence. Steven stepped back. Calm. Balanced. Unchanged. His posture returned to neutral. Hands relaxed. Breathing steady. As if nothing had happened. That contrast stunned everyone. Jason pushed himself up slowly, confusion written across his face. He had moved fast. He had committed fully. Yet he never touched Steven. That realization hit harder than the fall. The stunt coordinator stood speechless. Years of choreography offered no explanation. This was not a trick. Not rehearsed. Not staged. It was control meeting impulse. Daylight revealed the truth. No edits. No camera angles. No illusions. Just physics, timing, experience. Steven looked down briefly. Not with pride. Not with anger. With acknowledgement. Jason avoided eye contact. For the first time, the set remained silent, as if sound itself was unsure. A producer swallowed hard. Another stepped back. Everyone understood. They had witnessed something rare. Not power, but mastery. Steven did not celebrate. He did not explain. He simply waited. Jason stood fully now, brushing dust from his clothes. His expression had changed. Confidence replaced by respect. The lesson had landed. The fall was not humiliation. It was understanding. The air slowly returned to the set. Breaths released. Phones lowered. But the shock lingered. Because no one would forget what they saw in daylight. No force. No brutality. Just control. And in that moment, Hollywood learned something real. The set remained frozen for a few seconds. Then chaos quietly began to stir. Producers rushed in. Not running, not panicking, but moving with urgency. Their faces pale, eyes wide. They could see clearly. This was no staged scene. No choreographed stunt. No scripted moment. The tension that had built was real. The fall had not been planned. The control had not been acted. A director whispered under his breath. "So that's him. Steven Seagal is a real master with decades of discipline." The word spread quickly among crew members. Mutters and quiet exclamations moved through the set. Phones were out. Hands shaking. People replaying what they had just witnessed in their minds. Jason slowly stood up. Each movement deliberate. Not with anger. Not with bravado. But with disbelief. He brushed dust from his jacket. Looked around the set. Saw cameras recording. Fans frozen in shock. Assistants gripping equipment. Security tense but unsure. His eyes finally met Steven's. There was no challenge left. No ego. Only acknowledgement. Jason's lips parted slightly. But no words came out immediately. The silence said more than any sentence could. Steven remained calm. Feet planted firmly. Hands loose at his sides. Breathing slow and measured. The sun caught the edge of his sunglasses. Shadows shifted across his face. Nothing in his expression betrayed pride. Only presence. A producer approached cautiously. Clipboard shaking in hand. "Sir, this was incredible. That was not staged, right?" Steven nodded lightly. No words needed. The action had spoken louder than speech. Crew members murmured among themselves. "This isn't a movie stunt. That's real martial arts. They are both legends, but one just proved something you can't fake." Jason swallowed hard. He ran a hand through his hair. The realization settling in. He had underestimated Steven Seagal. Not his strength. Not his speed. Not even his reputation. But his control. His ability to redirect energy with no effort. His decades of discipline. And his calm presence in full daylight. Some assistants whispered about the fall again. About how fast it happened. About how it seemed effortless. A camera operator finally broke the quiet. He didn't even touch him and Jason went down. The words hung in the air, echoing the disbelief on everyone's faces. Steven finally took a small step forward. His motion measured, and looked directly at Jason. It was not threatening, not intimidating, just acknowledgement. Jason nodded. Slowly. Respect replacing challenge. Shock replaced by understanding. The producers and directors gathered around. Some took notes. Some filmed snippets for review. All silently acknowledging the rare display they had witnessed. One of the directors spoke again. This is not acting. Not rehearsed. Not even remotely staged. That was pure mastery. Jason raised his hand in subtle acknowledgement. A silent gesture of respect. The crew exhaled. The tension eased, but the lesson remained. Daylight lit the scene clearly. No angles hiding the truth. No music adding drama. Just reality. Real skill. Real experience. Real control. Backhand index pointing right fire emoji if you respect real skill. And tell us, did Jason underestimate him? Because in that moment, everyone watching knew. This wasn't about ego, or pride, or a fight for cameras. It was about mastery, and the kind of discipline that decades of practice can build. And Hollywood had just witnessed it all unfold. Unedited, unstaged, in broad daylight. The tension on set began to dissolve. Not immediately, not completely, but enough for the chaos to settle into something calmer. Jason stood upright, breathing deep, his eyes still fixed on Steven Seagal. For a moment he seemed unsure, uncertain how to move after what had just occurred. Then, slowly, deliberately, he raised his hand. It was a gesture of respect. Simple, Quiet. Meaningful. Not a triumph. Not a boast. Not a challenge. Just acknowledgement. Steven looked at the hand, measured the moment, then extended his own with the same calm precision. Their hands met in the middle. Firm. Controlled. Balanced. No words were spoken. None were needed. The crew exhaled collectively. The boom mics lowered. Cameras tilted down. Even the security relaxed slightly. Everyone knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. Something rare. Something real. Jason stepped back slightly, nodding. A subtle sign that he had learned. That he understood. Steven remained calm. Eyes steady. Face composed. Hands slowly dropped to his sides. The sun continued to shine overhead. Light spilled across the set, highlighting every detail of what had just transpired. The lesson was clear to everyone. Discipline always outweighs aggression. Patience always wins over arrogance. Calm control always eclipses impulsive force. No one had been humiliated. No one had lost their dignity. Jason had learned firsthand what it meant to underestimate experience. What it meant to meet someone whose mastery went beyond strength, beyond speed, beyond fame. The crew, once anxious, began to quietly murmur among themselves. Not gossiping, not laughing, not mocking. They discussed technique, precision, and the mental discipline that had been displayed. Producers shook their heads. Some took mental notes for future projects. Others simply admired the quiet power of the moment. The stunt coordinator, who had tried to intervene earlier, finally relaxed. He understood now. This wasn't about safety. It wasn't about risk. It was about mastery in motion. Jason glanced around at the set, noticing the stunned expressions of fans and crew. A smile appeared on his face. Small, subtle, humbling. He had expected confrontation, maybe even to prove something. But instead he had been shown a lesson in control and respect. Steven Seagal gave a final subtle nod, acknowledging not victory, not dominance, but the shared understanding of what had just happened. The sunlight highlighted both men. One learning, one teaching, both commanding attention in a different way than anyone had anticipated. The challenge was over, but its impact lingered in every corner of the set. The lesson had been delivered, loud and clear, without a single shout or strike. Ego had been checked quietly. Discipline had been proven in action. Respect had been earned, mutual and undeniable. Jason lowered his hand finally, but the acknowledgement remained. He knew now that true power did not need to declare itself. It simply existed, silent, measured, unshakable. And as the crew slowly resumed their work, filming continued. Cameras rolled. Lights shone. But everyone carried a piece of that moment with them. The memory of discipline over impulse, calm over aggression, presence over bravado. No words could capture it. No footage could fully replicate it. It was real. It was lived. And it was unforgettable. In that daylight, on that ordinary film set, two action legends had created a lesson that would resonate far beyond the cameras. A moment where ego lost, and true mastery quietly won. Real power does not shout. It does not demand attention. It does not seek validation through loud displays or empty gestures. True strength is quiet, measured, calm. It exists independently of recognition. It does not need applause. It does not seek approval. Hollywood had witnessed a lesson that day. In broad daylight. On a busy film set. With cameras rolling. Fans watching. Crew holding their breath. Two legends faced each other. One driven by confidence. One driven by decades of discipline and experience. The modern action hero, fast and bold, had challenged the seasoned master. Expecting to prove superiority. Expecting a display of dominance. Expecting a spectacle. What he encountered instead was control. Deliberate, precise, unshakable. In a single moment, with one smooth motion, the balance of power shifted. Without anger. Without force. Without arrogance. That moment revealed the truth. Experience cannot be rushed. Respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned through patience, practice, and presence. Hollywood learned that legends do not need to prove anything. They only need one moment. One demonstration of calm mastery. One quiet action that speaks louder than 1,000 words. The lesson was visible to everyone on set. Cameras could capture movement. Phones could record expressions. But they could not fully capture the weight of discipline, the depth of restraint, the aura of someone who has lived decades refining skill without seeking recognition. Jason Statham's confidence had been real. His abilities undeniable. Yet even the most talented can be humbled by experience and presence. The fall, the redirection, the calm acknowledgement, it was not humiliation. It was teaching. True power is not about winning a fight. It is about controlling oneself, guiding energy without chaos, choosing the right moment to act, choosing restraint over impulse, choosing wisdom over ego. Crew members, producers, and directors all understood the gravity. The lesson extended beyond martial arts. It applied to life, to careers, to relationships, to every moment where confidence meets challenge, where arrogance meets experience, where impatience meets discipline. Respect is the currency of mastery. Not admiration. Not fear. Not attention. Steven Seagal did not shout. He did not boast. He did not need to prove his skill. He only needed to exist fully present. And that presence was enough to teach a lesson far stronger than any scripted scene could convey. Jason acknowledged it. The crew witnessed it. Hollywood felt it. And the moral extended beyond the set. To everyone watching. To everyone reading. To everyone seeking to understand real strength. Experience beats arrogance. Patience beats impulsiveness. Calm beats chaos. This is a moment to reflect. A moment to internalize. A moment to share. The story is more than entertainment. It is a reminder that discipline, presence, and respect are more powerful than fame or loud confidence. Backhand index pointing right, type respect if you believe experience beats arrogance. And share this story with someone who values true strength. Because one day, in your own life, you may encounter a moment like this, where silence teaches louder than words, where restraint speaks louder than force, where presence is worth more than power. Remember, legends do not need to prove themselves. They only need one moment. And that moment can change everything. Be patient. Be calm. Be disciplined. True strength is quiet. True power is measured. And respect is earned, not demanded. Hollywood, the crew, and everyone watching that day learned it firsthand. And now, so have you.